iTunes and other services. It's just a song at a time for the most part. So we decided to go with Hoopla after some long conversations and some trial runs with the service. Like I said before, we have a long-standing relationship with Midwest Tapes, and we have a really good relationship with our account representative, which makes a huge difference, as you all know. And one of the things that was most appealing about this service was Midwest and Hoopla in general, their only customer is libraries. So they really understand the needs and concerns of librarians and their library users. This on this slide is sort of the timeline for what they call their onboarding process. We had our agreement, which ended up taking us longer than we would have liked, mostly because of just some local hoops that we had to run through, had to jump through, but that's sort of what you get when you're working with local government. We had a few initial emails. We had a conference call with folks from Hoopla, and there were several of us in the room, sort of as sort of our core team that were going to be using the service and going out and informing our staff about it, and then also working with the public. And then we, scheduled our rollout, and they committed to doing some PR for us, and then we went live. We went live in October, so it's very, very new. And after the webinar, the conference call, there was a webinar where they walked through how to navigate the site and any questions that we might have about using it. And they have been consistently really, really good about answering any questions that we've had along the way. In general, working with Hoopla has been really good. What I'm showing here on this slide is the administrative page. And the couple of things I want to point out is that they have live staff training that you can sign up for, and so you can walk through webinars that they have prepared just for library staff to use. From this, also you can see there's neighboring Hoopla libraries, so you can see libraries nearby that are using the service. You can contact them for references and that kind of thing. And they also list out all of their content providers, so you can see which production companies are working with Hoopla to provide access to movies and to music. And there is a Dropbox that they have with marketing materials that I can't say enough good about. That is some incredibly high quality materials that we can access, or, and I'll talk a little bit about how they get started in the marketing and publicity they actually help with in a real hands-on way. And we'll do that. This list is the first list that they give us at the beginning before we go live, and they say, okay, tell us which of these you would like to get in advance of your go live date, and we will send them to you for free. And these are incredibly high quality bookmarks. The coaster card has been really nice because it's something that people can take with them, and it gives them the basic steps on how to get started. The buttons, we're still wearing the buttons, so that's something that staff has been using. And if you happen to buy material from Midwest Tapes, you can talk to them about, as they process your materials, they can put in a Hoopla label inside the cases for anything that you purchase from them. The free is the big thing for me, and the good and the excellent quality of the materials. They provided press release templates, the art, the images that you can get access to for free are really nice. You can put them anywhere. I'm using one on this PowerPoint here. That logo is one that they supplied to us. So it's really it's a great effort, and it's a very, I think it's fairly unique in the fact that they do this and the level that they do this. What I was especially happy about, I wasn't sure if I completely believed this when they talked about it, But they actually contacted our local media before we went live, and we got 2 TV spots out of it without us having to do anything. I mean, we sent a press release out as well, but it was their direct contact with our press here in High Point that got us, and it was great. I didn't have to do anything, which is usually kind of hard to get library stuff into the local news. So I was very grateful about that. In addition to the initial marketing stuff they give access to, they also send out free marketing stuff seasonally. They sent out a package of bookmarks, posters at Christmas time where we could put up in our children's department in several places around the library that talked about the Hoopla materials that were Christmas and holiday themed. So it's all kinds of stuff like that that they do. They just sent one out recently. They're promoting a kids-only service, and they sent out materials, bookmarks, little some of those little stand-up signs that are just promoting that as well. And they like feedback about this kind of stuff, so I've been trying to give them some feedback on how that's helped us. So like I said, we went live in October. We had started out with doing some staff training, and we had a lot of really positive response from staff to begin with, and that's only going to be to the good because they will tell their friends and neighbors as people come in, ask questions about, do you have DVDs? They would talk about Hoopla as well. So this is just a good example of a poster that I put together. We had some help sessions that we put together right after we went live, and really the service itself is so easy to use. We did not have a whole lot of people that needed to come to these sessions, but I like to offer them just in case because there are some people that are a little bit timid about new technology, so I wanted to make sure we were available. We got more questions just from people coming through, seeing the posters, stopping at our service desk, and all of the people that worked at our service desk are fully able to get people started with this service. It is that easy. Even people that don't use technology a whole lot, everybody was able to do it. So in general, I'd say our initial response from the community was really very positive. So much so that I've got some circulation data there for you. The graph on the left is our monthly circulations so far. So we started out kind of slow, but we built in January, sort of was our highest month, hitting about 320. And we have dipped back down a little bit, but I'll talk about that in a minute about why I think that happens, or at least happened with us. The other thing is the format. I mentioned that the reason that we did this was because we were really interested in being able to provide streaming movies and music to our users, and we hadn't been able to do that before since our movies and our music collections, our physical collections of DVDs and CDs are so popular. So here on the right is format circulations. I will tell you honestly that when I looked at the circulation numbers at the end of October, I was completely surprised by the fact that audiobooks was the highest circulating format. I didn't expect it. We have 2 other services that provide the digital audiobooks, and as you can tell by this graph pretty clearly, audiobooks have remained our most popular service. The movie is high, the music is high as well, but so are the ebooks. And the least popular is the comics and the television. The television, there are a couple reasons why I think that's fairly low. The comics were just very new. That's something that they just rolled out in the fall, like about a month or so before we went live. So that's still sort of trying to catch on a little bit. So I've mentioned some of these things. Looking at sort of where we are at this point, from what I can tell, what I think the patrons really like are the fact that it's easy to use, There's no waiting, unlike Overdrive and One Click Digital. Like I've said, the entire album for music is available whenever you check it out. For the audiobooks, one thing that I think people like is that it is a 21-day checkout. Overdrive is 14 and One Click Digital is 7, the way we have them set up here. So there's at least a week longer circulation on the audiobooks, which people really like. And there is such a broad selection in each format. When you go live with Hoopla, you have access to their entire catalog, which is different than what I'm used to. So I'm used to, you pick and choose, and with Overdrive, you buy what you can, and you just kind of build over time. When you start out, you have their entire catalog, and they are constantly adding content to the collection. It's also available for you to, they want you to incorporate it into your catalog if you have that ability to increase the discoverability and that kind of thing. So that in itself has been huge. So much so when we search for certain things, it's all of the digital content that shows up first in the searches. So we have to teach the folks that are using the catalog what they're looking at. They don't always know the difference between the ebooks and the physical content. And they have a really good frequently asked questions help page at the bottom of the screen. So that's been a real benefit for people that had questions along the way. For library staff, it's been great because from the very beginning, we are given the ability to create customizable lists. It's kind of hard to see here, but I've created 2 lists for this month for the audiobooks. These are audiobooks for the 400th anniversary of Shakespeare's death. I've pulled together some Shakespeare-related audiobooks, and with Star Wars, with the Star Wars Day coming up next month, I went ahead and did a Star Wars list. And those are very easy to create. The only thing that's a downside about that is when you create the list, it is just one format. So if you want to create a list, say, of National Book Award winners or Caldecott Newberries, that kind of thing, you could only get a list of ebooks or audiobooks. You can't combine and make a list of both ebooks and audiobooks. So that's definitely a limitation, not a big one, but it's definitely there. Like I said before, when you go live, you get access to their entire collection. At the end of the month, you want to go and check where you stand. And fantastic reporting tools. All of that available for that admin page I showed you a few minutes ago, as well as the marketing resources. There's logos, there's images, there's handouts, there's press releases. It's really good stuff that they've put together, and all keeping in mind about how libraries are going to use them with their customers, with their patrons. The customer support has been good so far. We haven't had too many issues, which I'm grateful for. Overdrive, it seems like there's an issue once a day, but with Hoopla, it is just that straightforward, and it is just that well designed that people don't usually have any issues at all. Like I've said, mainly because they really have proven over time to understand libraries and their patrons. Okay, so there's always downsides. I've mentioned a few along the way. In general, I feel like that the interface, when you're accessing Hoopla on a computer, it's not real intuitive. When you access it on the mobile app, it's very intuitive. So that's the way we prefer to direct people to use it, just because of how easy it is to navigate. Once you've logged in, it remembers. That is true for the computer as well. Once you've signed in, it remembers you, so there's no business with having to log in every single time. With the app, though, there are limited account functions. There's more ability to access your account information on a computer. They even have a service or a function where you can choose genres that you want to have be recommended to you as they have content come in. And that's more easily customizable from a computer than it is on the app. You can't really get to that level of detail with your account using the app. Television shows, this is the downside that I think is why people aren't as interested in the TV shows, is that it's only one episode per checkout. So right now, with the 5 checkouts that we have, you could get 5 episodes of a TV show in a month. And the way that our folks like to watch television shows from our DVD collection, that would just not work. They're checking out a couple seasons at a time. So that's one of the other limitations. Something else that I am missing from Hoopla that we have other places is sample and preview options, which are both available from Overdrive and One Click Digital, where you can test out, especially with the audiobooks, where you can test out the narrator and see if it's going to be a good fit, because sometimes the narrator can kill the audiobook if it's not a good one. So there's that other one. And the other big one, I think it may not be as big of a deal for some of the younger generation or some of the older generations, is that there isn't an easy way to watch the Hoopla content on a TV screen. Most of the viewing is intended for a computer or a mobile device. It is available for people that have Apple TV, for people that use Chromecast, and for people that have a smart TV and you have a cable that can connect your tablet to the TV, you can use those resources, but the average person may not have access to those due to costs and other things. So it's not as easy to do as I would hope. They are working on adding in some other ways to view the content on televisions, but they're still kind of in the working stages on that.
Julie, I just had a chat question. Can more than one person check out an item at a time?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
No waiting and the simultaneous access. So yes, if you want it, you can get it, and you can get it right then. So which was mind-blowing to me. I had to keep asking our rep a couple times, like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" So it was hard to believe there at first, but yes, indeed. So that's also one of those benefits. There is no waiting. You can just get it when you want it. So.
Thank you.
So in general, I talked also a little bit about this, the fit with our physical collection. One of the things that we deal with that other libraries may have similar issues is space, of course. And we actually happen to have a pretty large DVD collection and music collection and audiobook collection. So just that's something that we've been able to provide for our community. That being said, we are limited by space, and we're having to weed those collections and modify, like we keep the holiday movies, we don't keep those out all year long because we don't have space. So I mean, there's space issues that we have with several of our collections. The music collection being the most significant, because we have chosen not to put as much money into our music collection recently because of our other digital content, and our other needs have a higher, other collections have a higher demand. So Hoopla is great because it significantly expands our physical music CD collection. It provides also much more current content than what we've been able to buy recently. So it really does do a great job in broadening and expanding our our music CD collection. With our movies and TV shows, same kind of thing. more movies than television shows. It just provides a broader subject area than what we can physically have in the library. So it truly, we've evaluated it a little bit, and it's not that the movies and the TV shows are the most current. We're still getting sort of the new releases, that kind of thing, the new shows. But what's available from Hoopla is either things that we've never had before or things that we didn't have room to keep on our shelves in the library itself. So that's been great. Audiobooks as well, same issue, space. It really broadened our selection. Even has things that OneClick and Overdrive do not have. So it broadens even our digital offerings. So that in itself is a win-win to me. And general fit, it frees staff of the concern that we have with our physical collection with theft, damage, missing discs for books on CD that we all deal with on a daily basis. So having this really good, broad, accessible collection for our DVDs and audiobooks especially has been a real plus. We haven't worried about somebody who wants to get that music CD and is never going to return it. So definitely a plus on that front.
Julie, we have one more question.
Okay.
Do you have an estimate of the number of movies and audiobooks that are available?
I don't, but I can get that.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and make a note to get that, and I'll send that to you to send out.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I should have that figure in my head. I do not. And I didn't mention it, but I will. For the different formats, there are different checkout periods. Hoopla sets the checkout periods for the content. So for TV shows, it's a 3-day checkout. For music and movies, it's a 7-day checkout. And for everything else, the audiobooks, the ebooks, the comics, it's a 21-day checkout. And that's something they set, so we can't change that. So for the TV shows, that's another reason that they aren't as popular. So because of the shorter checkout period, maybe they'll eventually expand that out to 7 days, but I know they're also working with the production companies and they're having to make arrangements with them, and that's the best that they could do at this point. So what's next for us? I mentioned in passing that we started out with 3 per month and we just increased it to 5. That has been tremendous. The circulation has already started to reflect that. By April 15th, I mentioned that in January our circulation was 320 or so. By April 15th, our circulation for April was already at 250. So just doing some quick calculations, projecting out our total circulation for a little over 500 for April, which is almost 60% increase over that January circulation. So we're seeing that definitely this is a plus. And we're also hoping to gain back some of the people that hadn't stayed with it because of the smaller checkout limit. We're just going to keep marketing the service. I mentioned also that the new Hoopla for Kids promotion they're doing, it's literally a flip of a switch and you get access to titles that are appropriate for kids 12 and under, perfect for the summer. That's an example of one of the graphics that they designed to promote this, and this is the high quality kind of stuff that they produce consistently for us to use. they're also doing a push for their comics. So I imagine that the comic circulation isn't quite as high as they were expecting. So here as well as other places. So that's something else that we're doing. Another way that we're trying to get the word out about Hoopla right now is as people request us to purchase content in Overdrive especially, we're looking at those lists and trying to determine if we have those titles in other resources. So we're going to refer people who are looking for us to purchase something in Overdrive to Hoopla if we have it already in Hoopla, because number one, it will allow them to have access to that title immediately. As I've just mentioned, they can get it as soon as they get their Hoopla account set up, they can get that immediately. And it also saves us money because it's already available through one of our services. And something that we've been doing for a while with our audiobooks especially is as audiobooks are lost, damaged, need to be replaced for a variety of reasons, we are evaluating that replacement based on what's available digitally in Overdrive, OneClick, Hoopla, all those services. So it's sort of become important to our collection in that way as well. We're going to continue providing feedback to Hoopla about the limitations. I feel like that when I mentioned the customized lists before, I love doing customized lists, and the fact that it limits me, that I can't just do, for example, a general, holiday list of, Mother's Day or 4th of July related materials all in one list. That's limiting to me, and I would prefer being able to just put whatever I wanted to in there. So I wanted to throw in some movies and a couple of ebooks, and I would prefer to have that freedom. So I will keep sending on feedback like that to them because I feel like that's something that they would respond to because they have responded to other feedback as well. Every time I ask our account rep about something, is this coming? Where are you all? I'm working on it. He will say something like, that is in our list to look at. So they seem to be on top of library needs and concerns as well. So that's sort of where we are now. We're going to keep looking at it, keep evaluating the cost benefit of having this service, because that's always something that you have to do to be a good steward of your community's funds. So we will keep doing that and hopefully be able to provide this on into the future. I can't guarantee it, but I hope so. It seems to be popular enough. Staff loves it. So I've had several staff members to stop me and beg me. So, okay. Question time. I know several of you had some great questions so far, and I will try to get the answer to the collection figures to Jenny here today. Have any of you been using Hoopla? What's worked for you? What hasn't? And if anybody has any other questions for me, I'd be more than happy to address those.
Well, Julie, I'm curious. I'm looking at the open kind of Hoopla website, just the hoopladigital.com, I think. And when you have a Hoopla subscription through the library, is like, I'm struggling to answer this question very well, or ask this question very well. Basically, if I look at their list of content, is that the same? You know how, like the North Carolina Digital Library, for instance, different libraries have access to different things, different ebooks sometimes. So they always ask you to log in so you can see what's available for your library. But with Hoopla, is it kind of the same? Every library that subscribes has access to the same content?
For the most part, yes. Everybody who is, signed on for the Hoopla service has access to that content. I have heard recently about one of my coworkers, is from Ohio, and she still uses her Ohio library card to get digital content. And she was mentioning to me the other day that when she logged into her Ohio account with Hoopla, they don't provide the comics. So what I'm thinking is there may be times when libraries opt out of certain formats for some reason, either expense, that kind of thing. But that's the only real difference that I have ever heard about.
Okay.
So just that library just chose not to sign on for the, or it might. I mean, I would think that it's widely available. They may just have opted out for a reason. So for their own reasons.
Okay, so I've got two more questions for you. One, is there a difference in per checkout charge for the different formats?
Yes.
Yes.
I can give you some ranges on that as well. In general, it's usually between 99 cents and $1.99 per checkout, and that's across the board. There are some that are more. I know that there was, our first month we were quite concerned. There was an abridged audiobook that checked out for $4.99.
Oh my gosh.
We couldn't quite figure that one out, and so we asked about it, and didn't really get a satisfactory answer, to be honest with you. But
wow.
You know, it is basically that's what the publisher wanted for that. So I'm thinking abridged though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really get more for your money.
Right.
And then Lisa said that she has several questions that she'd love to ask you directly. So she's wondering if you would share your email with everyone so that they can contact you if they need to ask
the
questions.
next slide.
There we go. So prepared. All right. Any other questions?
I'd be more than happy to talk with anybody offline, and I can, any questions that I may not be able to answer right then, I'd be more than happy to talk with you and see if I can find answers for you as well.
Excellent. Do we have any other questions before we wrap things up? And of course, Julie will be sharing her email address momentarily, and then we can contact her. There we go. And Julie, will you be able to send me these slides so that I can post them along with the recording, which I accidentally started about 10 minutes late?
Yeah, that's fine.
Still getting used to this new WebEx format, everybody.
Yeah, and I will also send a list with these other this other information that has been asked about. So I will do that as well. It may be tomorrow before I can get it to you, but I'll definitely do that.
No problem. All right, well, I'm not seeing any more questions coming in. Thank you so much, Julie, and thank you guys so much for being such active participants. I hope you learned something about Hoopla. I know I did. Very intrigued, want to look into it a little bit more. Yes, you see now you're getting lots of thank you messages. So thank you, Julie. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, everybody. I love sharing what we're doing and being a part of Technology and Trends. So please consider joining on with us if you feel like this is something that would benefit you in your work.